He's an author. He's a mental counselor, and he has his own book, and it's called Men to Heal, and it's out now. And I wanna get started. I want to start and talk about your journey. You know, how you grew up and how you got here to this point now where you are in life.
Yeah. Nah, man. First and foremost, thank you for having me. Keep up the good work that you're doing. I definitely think it's important and good that you're highlighting different stories on your platform. Um, so yeah, dive right into it, man. So I'm a father, veteran, entrepreneur, and yes, a therapist, like you highlighted. And I do have a book. I also have a board game for couples, for adults. But I got started with, I guess, therapy, you can say, was integrated at an early age. So I was awarded a state, and therapy was mandatory, like weekly sessions that you had to do if you awarded a state. So I guess for them, it was a check in the box, but it was supposed to be a helpful tool because, of course, it was a different transition. Part of your life. So if you don't know what a water state is, that's foster care and group home and stuff like that.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I had to clear that up because a lot of people listening might be like, what is, so
Yeah.
foster care and then group home, therapy was mandatory. For me, it wasn't a pleasant experience. I didn't obtain as much as I could from it. So whether that was cultural reasons or just me being that stubborn black kid from the projects, but like in hindsight, I know it was cultural reasons. Like it just wasn't, I'm this young black kid and the therapists in that setting were older white people. So it was just so unrelatable, man. And fast forward, joined the Army, 8 years, 2 deployments, 1 Iraq, 1 Afghanistan, tried therapy again. And this time it was the same thing. The therapist didn't have combat experience. It just was a foreign process. And that's part of the reason why a lot of veterans tends to go to groups opposed to, psychotherapy. So for me, I just like, man, this might be something that I have to do. So I paused entrepreneurship, went back, got my bachelor's, and got my bachelor's in clinical psychology. Then I got a master's in clinical mental health counseling. Then I started my licensing journey, and the rest is history. Here we are.
Good. Okay. So can you explain what is mental health?
So mental health. So here's the thing: a lot of people confuse mental health and mental illness. That's why it's such an issue, or people not seeking services. But mental health is your overall well-being. So that's your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health. That is what mental health is. Mental illness is the different relationships that can come from mental health issues if you don't take care of those things. Those are the disorders. Those are the different issues that can happen if you don't have a solid foundation, not just from a standpoint of mental health, but of course your physical health as well can tie into those things.
So going back to what you were saying earlier, when you were saying there were for you cultural issues growing up, do you think there's a stigma for black men to open up about their problems?
So, I mean, I would say it is a stigma, not just for black men, but for all men. I think it's highlighted more because you and I are black, but the stigma towards men, of course, you got that battle of, what society deemed as masculine and feminine, certain gender roles. Whether they're saying boys ain't supposed to cry, or boys supposed to do certain things, or men don't do that, or you acting too emotional, you soft, or you weak. So those things definitely hinder a lot of the male experience, the vulnerability aspect. But as a whole, the mental health aspect as it relates to black men specifically is, of course, one of those experiences that the hypervigilance, being overstimulated, easily stressed, startled, frustrated, so those things are definitely important too to highlight.
So what do you think, what are some tools men can use to help express themselves?
And that's the wild thing too, because men do express themselves. Oftentimes it's probably not in a healthy way, so like when you say express yourself, I think people automatically assume from a conversational standpoint, like they're not talking, they're not doing whatever.
Right.
But expressing themselves can come in the form of their substance use, whether it's drinking or smoking or, reckless behavior or being promiscuous. So they can, have alternatives to like different interventions, whether that's psychotherapy, talking to somebody, or listening to music, yoga, mindfulness, meditation, or of course journaling, writing lyrics or poems and stuff like that, exercising. Those things are a little bit more healthier ways to express yourself.
You had just said it a little earlier. How do you think society plays a role in men struggling to open up?
I mean, I would say, depending on where you are, society definitely plays a huge role in it, and it definitely has a big impact on how one displays themselves in those certain spaces, whether they feel that they are viewed, superior or inferior. Is also definitely based on that too. But in those settings, whether it's the office setting, the locker room setting, or the home setting, a man has to display himself with certain characteristics, or he will be viewed as something else and shunned upon or chastised or demonized for being expressive with his feelings or opening up to certain people or whatever the case is.
Now, what is your general philosophy, being a coach and what's your philosophy and your approach to helping?
Yeah. So something I often say is feel your feelings, and not just the the ones that are good to you. You got to feel all of them. Not only that, you got to process them. So I definitely think it's a difference, but it's also a situation to where you got to ensure that you're surrounding yourself with people who validate you and not enable you, who support you and who uplift you, who make you feel cool if you do express that vulnerability, because those things are important too. We need a safe place to land, and it's definitely important that we get those things. But my personal philosophy is just to continue to be authentic and continue to grow, and not ignore the perception of others. I don't view myself as the next person, or I don't do things because the next person will view me in a certain light. I do things based on the fact of this is the right decision for me, or for my family, or for the people that I'm serving.
Now, when I was going through your book, when it came through today, I read that you founded the Healing Hub.
Yeah.
Down in it's located down in Richmond.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So the Healing Hub is a spot where I do my outpatient at. It's got a venue space, yoga, Zumba, mindfulness, and I bring different sessions to the community. So first and home buying seminars, LGBTQ seminars, voter restoration, voter registration, restoration of rights, feeding less fortunate every third Saturday, clothing drives, toiletry drives, just different stuff like that. Like I couldn't wait for somebody else to do it. It's just something that sometimes, we got to do those things. Like we got to be that change. You see something wrong, you got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any plans to open up more healing hubs outside of Richmond?
A couple of different people reached out, but it all depends, because now with the pandemic and just different people, like I'm cool with consulting and helping people establish different things, but like I don't want to be in a position to where somebody is not their vision, so I'm cool with helping somebody, but I don't want to force that, or I don't want that to be like a model. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm cool with helping somebody establish something similar, but like I don't want to franchise what I've done, because
you want to be more you rather be more hands-on with everything. Yeah. Now this book here, the men to heal, it's more of a it's kind of like a self-help.
So the movement is Men to Heal. The book is Man, Just Express Yourself. But yeah, it's an interactive planner, and it's dope because men can write out their answers or they can draw out their answers. It's one of those tools. Definitely a beneficial tool for the young brothers out there. You can see if he's still triggered by the same things or if he's grown in certain areas. And of course, the wives can get it and give it to their husbands or partners. And process over dinner and date night. They can have those conversations that they oftentimes don't have, or he's often probably reluctant to share. So it's definitely a good tool in that aspect.
Okay. Now can you tell me more about the board game? Because I'm interested in that aspect of it.
Yeah. So this right here is gonna be audio only, or the video too?
So it's gonna be video as well.
Okay, so yeah, I can show you. That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So the board game itself is called Cheesy Dates, and I named it that because like I do a lot of date nights with my lady, and they're deemed cheesy, like from what we, how you grew up. It just was like, oh man, you cheesy, that's corny. But in hindsight now, the women like, oh man, that's so romantic. You know what I'm saying? So I just stuck with that premise. So the board game, of course, is a 18 by 18 board game, which is like the same size as your Scrabble games and stuff like that.
Okay.
And, so this is the board. Then of course you got you got pawn pieces, you got dice, put on the board, move around. But you got two different card decks. You got a date card deck, and then of course you got a question card deck. So the dates card deck is different date ideas that you can do, whether it's horseback riding, talking, camping or whatever. It's just, about 50 different date ideas. But the question card deck is where it gets interesting because you and your partner can have these engaging conversations. Excuse me, engaging conversations. You can, you'd be surprised, man. You with this person for this time and don't really know them. So regardless of where you are within your relationship, these are good tools. So it's questions in there, about communication, about intimacy, about finances, just different stuff that you think you probably know about your partner, or you should at least know. So that's pretty much what it is.
Now, in your field, what do you think is the number one cause of relationship or marriage divorces and things like that?
So there's a couple of different reasons. Of course, you got the financial aspect. Finances account for a heavy portion of that. The infidelity is next up on that list. So it all depends. And of course, a lot of people change and grow and don't recognize it. So those things are definitely important as well.
How can people reach you if they're interested in your services or your classes?
Yeah, so the easiest way to reach me is, of course, my website, www.mentoheal.com, www.mentoheal.com. And then from there, of course, you can subscribe to my YouTube. You can subscribe to my social media. And of course, you can purchase the shirt, the board game, the book as well on there. But it's also a resource page on my website as well. If somebody do need, services, whether that's a counselor, whether that's housing, whether that's the suicide hotline, it's different things on my website that can be beneficial to different people.
Okay. Now, I appreciate. Look, I appreciate you, man, because I think a lot of people, men, women, I mean everybody, they struggle with a lot of mental issues, and a lot of people it's the fear of how people will perceive you to come out. And I think your platform and the things that you're doing is amazing, because I'm in the physical therapy field right now, and a lot of the stories I hear, man, a lot of people they're struggling with some things, but they don't know how to talk about it.
Yeah, so and that's the thing too. Like, I mean, I would agree that one definitely has to ignore the perception of others, but not only that though, you got to remember too, like a lot of people are now desensitized to certain things because one, they probably been like that their whole life, so they don't know that I'm causing issues with everybody else, or I need assistance. I just got to change my ways. They probably don't view it that way, so that's pretty much a lot of different aspects of it. So what I do is try to make it comfortable, try to make it a enjoyable, pleasant experience, so people can feel comfortable and open enough to want to share and want to be themselves or want to look deeper. If not, even if it's just providing a resource or to just put them in a situation to where they got to say, oh man, could I have handled that differently? Or am I different? Am I changing? So those are things that we got to look at that oftentimes don't get viewed as high as they should. So, that's where I am, man.
Yeah. I appreciate you, man. You doing your thing, and I'm glad that we got together to do this, man. And I appreciate you, man, and I hope everything keeps expanding for you in this field, because a lot of people need it.
And that's the thing, man. Awareness is key. A lot of people aren't aware or don't know that there's resources available. So that's why I ensure that I am visible. I am putting myself in a position to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence and being on different platforms. Because, a lot of people don't even respond or acknowledge the fact, like, take the time out. So for me, as long as you are in a position to where you want to grow, you want to ensure that people are getting certain knowledge, I'm always open to help or to, speak or do whatever I have to. Because the biggest thing is to normalize that experience. Right now, it's just so abnormal to have like men being vulnerable or men being open in certain spaces. So we definitely gotta, make it the norm. We have to put ourselves in a position to ensure that the next generation that's coming understands, like, oh man, them brothers are cool. Them brothers are doing,
we gotta give them an example.
Yeah, or you don't have to just do basketball and rap and all that. You can be a therapist with tattoos. You can be occupational therapist or lawyer or judge or whatever. You can be whatever you want to be, So it's about, inspiring and delivering a positive message. So all of those things are definitely important.
Yeah. I'm gonna have all your information down in the description and everything, and we're gonna talk more about this. We need to get a lot more of this out, man, because I think this is gonna help a lot of people. So again, that I appreciate you today for taking the time out to talk with me, man, and blessings on your path, man. And again, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, likewise, good brother. Make sure you get that board game for you and your lady, man.
I will, man. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
You as well, boss.
All right.
You're on YouTube, baby.